Hello. Hello. Good?
Perfect. Welcome everyone to this episode of the H.O.P.E podcast. We're really blessed to be joined today by one of my best friends in the world, Tanor Jobe. Tanor and I went to Quinnipiac together. He transferred in his junior year, my sophomore year. So he was a year above me, and been really close friends ever since then. There's so much power in sharing and hearing other people's experiences, and that's why I'm so grateful Tanor's here with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here, and you know, like you said, it's good to kind of talk about people's experiences and kind of see what they're like, where they're coming from, and what they're feeling. So you know, this is a great platform to do that, and you know, once again, just thank you.
Absolutely. Again, it's my pleasure, and I'm gonna start with my beliefs and what I used to believe. What changed? What helped me change my my beliefs and what I believe now, and then we can kind of go into some of the stories that you've faced, some of your experiences, and so I definitely I went to private school my whole life. Always played sports. Always had black friends, but never really. It definitely wasn't in school with a lot of them. Definitely didn't hang out with them a lot outside of school.
Yeah.
So I never really experienced much racism. I never saw it. My town was very white. My school was very white. And so especially when a lot of this stuff started happening back in 2011 to 2012, I didn't really understand the words privilege, the all lives matter, the Black Lives Matter. I didn't fully understand or agree with it because, when it came to white privilege, I used to think, I have a lot of problems. I don't feel great about myself.
Correct.
My life isn't that easy. And because of the color of my skin, I felt like it was being discounted.
Correct.
And then on all lives matter, again, it was the same kind of belief I had. It wasn't a hardcore belief. I wasn't out there like protesting it, but it just in my head, I would think it. Went through college, obviously, again, started getting closer with a lot more African American Black people, and especially you and people like Tristan and Rula and Shaq and on I could go. We didn't really experience too much in college. I'm sure you have one or two stories. None really stick out to me. But what really stuck out was after college. Obviously, me and Tanor have remained very good friends. We both live here in Manhattan in the same friend group, and we hang out all the time. And what really did it for me, what really changed my opinion to understand why Black lives must matter for all lives to matter,
Correct.
and why I am so privileged because of the color of my skin, was our experience in Hoboken. We were out in Hoboken. I remember it was supposed to be a casual night out. We were like at Greco's apartment. We weren't sure whether we were going to go out. We decided to go out in Hoboken and went to Texas, Arizona. Good night. Everyone was having fun, kind of dancing. If I call our good friend Emily, who loves to dance, may have stepped on someone's foot, another girl's foot, and their guy friends kind of stepped up to defend
the girl,
and obviously we stepped up in the middle, and some words were shared back and forth, a few shoves here and there, and what I recall is the bouncers did something rather dumb, which was kicking their group out the front door while simultaneously kicking us out the back door.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Now it's starting to come back. Yeah.
And and it's why I remember it so well is because it really did stick in my memory, and I think it's actually kind of powerful that you don't remember it that well because it's probably just another experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So they kicked us up the back. Their group of friends, I guess, weren't done with the fight. I think we were kind of ready to pack it in and head home, and their head honcho kind of turned the corner and started running at us, and Tanor was the first one to see it. And so he was the first one to step up and take a couple steps towards him with to protect us. And at that moment, a cop turned his lights on from behind the other kid, and so got out of their car and walked straight past the white kid
towards me,
who initiated the fight, and went right at Tanor, who was there defending himself as anyone should and would, and let the other guys go and kind of just. Luckily it didn't escalate any further than that because you see in so many of these situations it does escalate further than that, and a little thing, a little minor infraction turns into a tragedy.
Something major, yeah.
But what really stuck with me was what the effect it had on you afterwards. Obviously upset. Obviously, it took a toll on your happiness for the rest of the night. And,
definitely.
Just one of those things stuck with me, and what kind of really did change my beliefs. I mean, we'll share other stories. Tanner's got a bunch of them, and all of those have added to it and strengthened my new belief, which is, I have plenty of problems. Everyone has a lot of problems. I've never been singled out because of the color of my skin. I've never had a cop discriminate against me, and the feelings that must cause to know that it's not because of anything except for how you look, and you have no control over that. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's the big part. It's like something that I cannot control, and I personally go through it, and a lot of people that look like me go through it, and it's 10, like you said, it's 10. We have 10 million stories of it happening, and so much so that I even forget that it's even happened because it's become so normal in my life that I just, I face it, and then I move on to the next situation or whatever it is, and then that's it. But like I said, I think it's very important to have like platforms like this so we can talk about it, and make people aware that things are really happening, and we go through a lot of things. Like we truly go through a lot of things, and you go through a lot of things as well. But the aspect is that some of the things I cannot control. Like I just walk outside and I'm doing something, and I can get in trouble for just walking, and just speaking my mind or whatever it is. And I have plenty of stories, but I don't know where I can start. And it's even funny, when I was on my way here to your apartment, right outside your apartment, I don't know, there was a bit of a barricade or wherever it was, but it was another, it could have been another situation for me if I didn't act in a certain manner. And I walked up to your street, and your street was obviously blocked off with police. And the funny thing is, I saw there was a white lady that was in front of me that walked right past. She had gone through the barricades and then just walked past. And so, like, I was like, okay, I'm going to walk, the same exact way that she has gone to go to your apartment. And as soon as I come around the barricade, the guy, the police officer was like, so, like, what are you doing here? Like, do you live here? Like, I said, yeah, my friend is over here, and I'm coming to see him. And he's like, does he live on this street or the street, over? Right. And I'm like, I have to reiterate what I said. I am seeing my friend here. And then he's like, oh, okay, all right, lets me go. It's just those little things that, if I had said to him, like, what are you talking about? And, like, raise my voice or wherever it is, it could change into something completely different and then ruin my life, so simply.
And it's something you have to think about, and that's right there. That's a privilege in itself. Just a little thing, but Tanner has to, in his brain, just think about your thoughts all day. You have all these different thoughts, all these different thoughts. One of the thoughts he has to have is I need to behave appropriately.
Correct.
In this situation, or something bad is going to happen to me. That's a negative thought that he has to have about himself every day that I don't have to have. And right there, that's a privilege. That's a privilege that I can focus my thoughts on, fucking golden retrievers and whatever the hell else I think about. And he has to think about, God forbid I say something dumb here.
Like, it's like I have to, like, minimalize my words that are coming out. And, that's one instant. And, like, so the thing that I truly stick by, and it's like one of these phrases that my dad and I use, like, all the time, is he who feels it knows it, which is, like, has played a massive part in my life, and, like, almost want to even get a tattoo about it, honestly. But it's like you need to put your thoughts into someone else's shoes, and, like, walk in their shoes to feel exactly how they're feeling. And I think that's what's going on right now with all these protests and things like that. Like, people are actually putting themselves into black people's shoes to see exactly what they're experiencing and what they're going through every single day. Like, it's just little things. Like, even when I leave my apartment, I have to think about what I'm wearing. like how I'm dressed, like how I like what I put on my head, like if I wear a hoodie, if I'm going into a store, like all those certain things. Like I need to carry myself in a way that doesn't get me in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I can do anything. Like even the way that I'm speaking, I have to speak in a certain manner. Otherwise, people will look at me like, oh, I'm a criminal, or I'm doing this badly, or whatever it is. And I'll tell you one of the stories that really annoyed me in my life is that I went to like a corner store, and I'm going into the corner store, and just like any other day, I have to think about what exactly I'm wearing to the corner store and how I'm dressed to the corner store. Because if I show up in the corner store with a hoodie on or wherever it is, you know, they can automatically assume that I'm stealing the place or wherever it is.
Right.
You know, so I'm walking up to the store, and I actually had two $20 bills because I had to go get I was going for a trim actually. And I wanted to change the $20 bill and break it down into I think it was a 10 and 2 5s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walk into the corner shop, and it was a Indian gentleman that was there, and I asked him like, oh, can I get change for this $20 bill? And I hand it over to him, and he looks at it and just puts it up against the light as if it's like fake or whatever it is. And I'm like, I looked at him and I just laughed because I'm like, oh, like, what do you do? Like, you think I would walk into your shop with a $20 bill, a fake $20 bill to get change, you know? And he looks at me and I just blew up because at that time, it's just, I've been going through a lot of shit, like every day, like all the time. I have to think about, I've already thought about what I had to wear to the shop, right? And then now you're giving me more issues about the cash that I'm giving you, wherever it is. And so he's looking at it, and I'm like, why the fuck would I come here and give you a fake $20 bill? And he's like, oh, people come in here all the time with it. And I'm like, which type of people are you talking about? Right? That's what I said to him. And then, like, when you say those certain things to people, you can immediately look at their face and see like, oh fuck, I fucked up. I fucked up in what I've said, right? So I look at him and he says that to me, and then I just tell him like, you know what, I don't even want the cash from you, right? I'll take the cash back and go about my day and go somewhere else.
Right.
So I went to a cash point, and I was able to take out additional cash, but in the manner that I wanted it, like the 10 and then the 2 5s. So just something little like that. And like you see George Floyd, who had died from the $20 bill.
Same thing.
And it's not necessarily we have to think about what we're doing, but other people have to think about what they're doing as well. So like in my instance, if that guy immediately just said, you know what, this $20 bill is fake, and I'm gonna call the police, right? His thought process should be, okay, this is a black guy, right? He's in America, right? And if I call the police, it could turn out completely differently.
Absolutely.
Right? And as soon as I call the police, it's out of my power.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter what I say after that, it's all the police's power.
Right.
And if he calls the police, and on that day, let's say it's a bad officer that doesn't like me because of the way I'm talking to him or wherever it is, it could turn completely, 360, and I could, potentially lose my life or go to jail for whatever it is for something that I didn't even do, So I go back to the point of he who feels it knows it. So that guy should feel the same way I'm feeling when I walk into this shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he should also hold himself accountable for calling the police on something that isn't even true, right? And it's the same thing with the video of the lady that was in New York City, that was in the park, right? She had the thought process of, okay, I'm white and I have so much power that I can call the police and accuse you for doing something, right? And then put you away so that I can show to you that, hey, I have this power, right? And if this guy did not have this video, just imagine.
We were never
It's
know.
completely different. He goes to jail. He probably loses his job and everything that he has going for his life, right? For something that he's falsely accused for.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that lady should be held accountable. Not only should she just lose her job or whatever it is, but she should get prosecuted for something, right?
I can agree
So
more.
then within the next instance that someone goes to that situation, they will get punished in a way that, okay, I cannot say these sort of things because, I will get in trouble for it. And I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
but
you keep going, you're saying facts.
It's the same thing with the police as well. They should be held accountable for the way that they handle situations.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's like one of the stories, and there's 10 million more, and it's a reality that we go through every single day, and it almost becomes so normal that you don't even talk about it. And normally I don't talk about a lot of things. If like a lot of the people that know me, I keep things to myself, and I keep things just within like my family, and I talk to them a lot about a lot of things and that are just personal to me that I go through, because I understand that they're going through the same exact thing, and we can kind of connect in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just amazing now, because now I can connect to you in that manner and tell you how I'm feeling, and then you can open up and say, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I can feel what this guy's, I cannot necessarily like immediately feel what he's feeling, but I can see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like I said, it goes back to that he who feels it knows it, which is massive. You have to put yourself into people's shoes so you can feel exactly, how they're feeling. So
empathy is the most important emotion.
Yeah, you're right, man. It's whenever I even introduce myself to people, because normally I don't really, like I said, I don't express myself to people. So if I was to meet someone new, right, I would just go about meeting them normally, just as you would normally meet someone. You'd say, hello, how are you doing? Like, what do you do for work? This and that. But even sometimes when I speak to people that I've met for the first time, and I tell them like what I've done, like what I'm doing right now, like for work and all that stuff, I immediately look at their eyes, and their eyes are like up, like as if I just came from Mars or wherever it is.
You just hit the lottery.
Yeah, like I'm like a demigod or something like that. Like they've just seen like an alien, wherever it is. Like even those certain things, but sometimes I purposefully will not say like what I've accomplished or what I'm doing, just to see people's reactions of what they think of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and normally even when I start speaking, you'll be like, oh, there's something different about him, but it shouldn't be that way. It should always be, you treat someone exactly the way you want to be treated.
Amen.
Right away. You shouldn't look at people and then wait for them to tell you something about them just so that you can judge them on and react to them in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Which is amazing. But I'll go back on topic about the that incident that happened at Greco's.
Mm-hmm.
So I normally go to Greco's all the time. I was always there at his apartment. I even lived there for about like 3 or 4 weeks or so.
Yeah, this is our friend James Greco lives in Moderna Lofts in Jersey City.
Jersey City, yeah. So I even lived there for about 3 or 4 weeks or so. So and it was during that time I was living there actually, and I was calling my mom back home actually, and I'm on the telephone with her, and I wanted to step out of their apartment because their apartment is not that big, and I didn't want them like kind of hearing what I was talking about with my mom, and
Sure.
I wanted to give them their privacy, obviously, because they've invited me to their house, right?
Absolutely.
So I've walked out, I've stepped out, and I'm right outside the door, and I'm talking on the telephone, and this lady walks past with two dogs, and I'm not paying any mind to her. Obviously, I'm just going about my day. I'm talking to my mom, and she comes over to me, and she's like, "Do you live here?" And I'm like, I'm startled. I'm like, what? And she's like, do you live here? What are you doing here? Like, do you live here? And I'm like, no, like I'm at my I'm at my friend's apartment, and the thing is, I'm holding the telephone like in one in one ear, and I'm trying to listen to this lady just chatting shit in my ear.
Right.
And I'm like, Mom, like I'll have to call you back because I don't know what this like lady is talking about. So I put the telephone down, and she's like, do you live here? Like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm at my friend's place. Like, I'm here with my friend. And she's like, what apartment number? Like, questioning me. And I'm like, why are you asking me these questions? Like, what have I done to you for you to just approach me in this way and start like basically harassing me?
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, this, and she's like, I need to know, like, if you live. And I'm like, do you work here or something? Like, what? And she's like, no, I live here. I'm a resident of this building, and I need to know where you're coming from. This isn't the ghetto, or this isn't anything like that. And as soon as she said like the ghetto aspect, like through like a few thoughts went through my head. I was saying, okay, now that she's just like basically come at me in this manner, I can do two things. I can react in a very harsh way towards her, which could in turn lead to her calling the police, right? The police coming here, the police saying that I'm trespassing or wherever they want to call it, arrest me, put me in jail. Then I have to pay for this bail and all these things. Then I have to explain myself that I'm staying at my friend's house, right? And I haven't done anything wrong. But the thing is, before I even get to that point where I can even explain myself, I'd already be in handcuffs, in jail. Right? And then after that, I can explain myself in court and all this nonsense and all that.
Right.
Or I can just say to her that, hey, I'm not doing anything here. I've just come here. I'm on the telephone. I'm trying to just talk to my mom. My friends are in here. Like, if you want me to knock on the door and I let them come out and you can speak to them and all this stuff. Then I had said that aspect, and she comes out, nope, this is in the ghetto. I'm gonna call the police, and I'm gonna call the what's it called? The security, the door, the doorman.
Concierge.
Yeah,
people.
the concierge individuals. So I'm like, yeah, you can call her because I knew the guy actually.
Yeah, because you're
very personally because I was always there and I was always walking past. So I'm like, go ahead and call the guy because he's seen me walk past there 10 million times.
Yeah,
so you can go ahead and do that. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then as she does that and the guy's coming up, another person that was in the apartment that is the direct neighbor to Greco walks out, and he walks over to me and he's like, what's going on here? And she's explaining to him, I don't know what he's doing here. He's outside. He's like loitering. He's doing, and then the guy asks me straight away, what are you doing here? Where do you live here? And I'm like I said to this woman, I'm just here. I'm talking on the telephone with my mom. I haven't done anything. The person that I'm here with lives here. I can knock on the door for you so you can talk to her, blah, 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 blah. And like him again they weren't budging. He was just like, what are you doing? She just wants to know. Normally, and then he said to me, normally people don't stand outside to talk on the phone. And I said, well, that's because my friend is in there with his girlfriend. Right, he's in there with his missus, and I'm just stepping out because I don't want them to hear what I'm talking about, and I don't want to disturb them.
Yeah,
right. And so I'm like, yeah, just go ahead, just call the person, and then when they come, you look very stupid because you're like saying that I'm causing a crime basically by standing outside and talking on the telephone. So the concierge comes up, and he's like, yeah, I know this guy. Like, I know him. He's always here with his friend. Like, they live right here. And then completely de-escalated the entire situation.
Yeah.
And then, I could have been to her. I could have been very harsh to her. I could have called her many names that, that I wanted to say.
You could have started with a racist.
Yeah. But I just left it at that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want it to escalate anything, further than that. I could have done a lot more things. But she had just said, oh, okay, well, normally people don't hang outside their apartments, blah, 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 blah. But then, so everybody goes back into their apartments or wherever, and then I go in and I explain the situation to Greco and his missus, and immediately that's when I knew that I have support. I've always known that I had support, but like I said to you, I don't explain those certain situations to people because I always thought that they wouldn't understand, especially someone that doesn't look like me. I would say that they don't understand.
Yeah.
But I really felt the need that it was okay to say something to them because I was just like I was very angry about it, so I wanted to explain myself.
Rightfully so.
And so I tell Greco and his missus a story, and immediately Emily just got up and she's like, no, like fuck that, like I'm going downstairs right now, like I need to talk to the building owner and all that shit. So she goes down and then like complains, gives the complaint, and then writes a letter to the building owner, talking about this lady and all this stuff. And then I don't even know what happened after that, but like I said, it just felt amazing to me that these two people just support me like massively, like, and it could have turned out into a terrible situation, and like I could have, like I said, been arrested, anything could have happened. As soon as the police came, it could have been anything, because they wouldn't even let me speak out about why I'm even there or anything like that, explain my story, because by the time I could even do that, they'd probably arrest me, and then all this shit would have happened.
Yeah,
but
and you see it all the time, and that's what we need more of, is what Emily and Greco did. They took action to try and make it right. If I recall, and James, during that whole Blackout Tuesday on Instagram, told the story, which I really appreciated him doing that, because people need to know these things. That people don't know them, especially if they don't hang around black people.
Exactly.
And it's not enough not to be a racist. First of all, there's a lot of people who don't think that they're racist. They don't believe that they're racist, but they'll say all lives matter, or they'll say I don't have privilege, and that's where the tension is, because those people think that they're good people, and they probably are good people. They just have never heard these experiences, never seen these experiences, and so they can't empathize with them. And that's why it's so important to talk about these things, to get more black voices in media, speaking, because these people can change their beliefs. Anyone can change their beliefs about anything. They really can. And the best way to do it is to connect with them and to share these experiences with them. And for everyone else out there, because I think it's I'll say from my own, to be honest, it's a confusing time for white people, and not to be throw a pity party, but for me, it's like, what can we do? What can we do? We want to help, but do our voice, is speaking right now a good time for us? Yeah. And I think what's important is one, listening. That's first and foremost, is reaching out to people, listening to them and empathizing with them, connecting with them, hearing their stories, hearing their experiences, feeling their feelings. And secondly is, whenever you're in a position to do something, it's not enough just to empathize with someone and say, I'm really sorry about that. Like, I'm so happy that James and Emily, this was a few years ago, this isn't even that recent, this was a few years ago. I'm so happy James and Emily took action, and I wish more had happened, because I believe that, Emily said that I think they filed a complaint and that was that, but that person should be kicked out of the building. Yeah. I guarantee you, if that was me outside speaking on the phone, she would have walked up to me nicely and been like, hey, can you keep it down? You're not supposed to talk in the hallway, and that would have been the end of it. And because Tanor is black, she treated him differently. She approached him with anger, and Tanor has to deal with that. No one likes to be approached with anger. I understand why some people say all lives matter, because they don't understand. They don't understand, and we need to help them understand by reaching out, connecting with them, telling them stories, listening to people's experiences, and hearing more black voices. The whole the Colin Kaepernick, the kneeling for the anthem, I was against it, and I wish I could go back and change that. Obviously, you can't go back and change that, but that was a peaceful protest. They were screaming out in the best way possible. These black athletes screaming out that we need help from white people, from the rest of the country, from America, and we silenced them. And these people were screaming out silently, in protest peacefully. We didn't listen. One of my favorite MLK quotes: "A riot is the language of the unheard."
Yeah. It's I think black people as a whole have just kind of hit the boiling point. I think the boiling point has been reached where we're just tired of, all the shit that we're going through, man. And like you said, people initially, like the football thing, the American football thing. It wasn't anything about the flag.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about, hey, police brutality, and we're being misconstrued, and we're being falsely accused of things, and we're getting killed for things that we're not supposed to get killed for, and that's like literally all he was trying to say, and nobody was listening, right? For years and years, nobody was listening. So he looked at it in a way that, okay, I'm very well known, and this is the way that I can probably make people realize truly how I feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he said to himself, okay, this is what I can do. I can kneel down during this game, so then people can see why, and then start asking questions. Why?
Exactly.
Why am I kneeling, or whatever it is? But it just became completely misconstrued into this thing where people would say, like, no, he's saying basically fuck the flag, and he doesn't stand for the flag and all this stuff, which is completely wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's crazy that now people are actually seeing, but it's good also, people are seeing exactly why this guy was doing this kneeling thing.
Yep.
And like I said, it's just the boiling point. So now people are expressing their themselves, just like I'm expressing myself here, and just tired of it, man. Like just sick and tired. Like it's simple. All we want is people to be just held accountable for what they're doing to us, and just to be treated the same exact way that you're treated when you go to do things. It's very simple. It's very simple. And we can go into politics and all this other stuff as well, but it's like we just don't have, black people as a whole don't have enough power to just go and just change, all these things right away, right? Which is why we're talking to white people like you guys to help us to change those certain things,
right?
And I think it's great that we have social media and all these videos and all these things now, because what I ask people is that just imagine if there was no videos and all these things, right? And the craziest aspect is that all of these people that have died or been falsely accused for things and all these things, there's 10 million of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's 10 million of them that haven't spoke about it or anything like that, and it hasn't been caught on camera or anything like that, right? So that's why you don't know about it. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Will Smith said it. Racism isn't getting worse; it's getting filmed,
exactly.
And it's so true. Exactly. But it's not enough. Like I said before, it's not enough that it's getting better. Yeah. It is getting better. I think our generation is better than the one before us, and the next generation will be better than us. But it's not. Yeah. But on this topic, which is okay for a lot of social issues, sometimes life isn't perfect, and you gotta accept them. But for this topic, for the equality, for the treatment of people based purely on the color of their skin, is not acceptable. Mm-hmm. And now that we have, our generation again has so much data, so much information. Correct. For better or for worse, it causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of change for our generation with the internet and social media, and it's difficult to change people's beliefs on a lot of issues. Mm-hmm. But this is one where we need to look inside of ourselves and ask ourselves questions. Why did I feel the need to explain Tanor's qualifications while telling a story about him? Why was I so upset? Why was I upset that people were peacefully protesting about their feelings that they were that America didn't treat them the same way that it treated someone else, another group of people based on the color of their skin? Why did I feel that way? Why did the word white privilege trigger me? I asked myself these questions. I realized that the answers weren't satisfactory, and I changed my beliefs. Mm-hmm. And we all need to do that. We really do. On this, there's a lot of topics where it would help us to do it, but this is not a topic where it's negotiable. It's a topic where we have to.
Correct.
The soul of our nation depends on it, and it's, if you think it's bad now, what's going on right now in New York. You know, I live in the middle of Manhattan. I've been out there. I promise you, we're one or two more instances away from a civil war.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't want that. I really, really hope we all want life to get back to normal. Yeah. And Saquon Barkley just released a great video, unbelievable video of a bunch of NFL players sharing their thoughts and feelings, and just say clearly these people are not making this up. You may listen to Tanor's stories and be like, well, the police would, you know, the police I know wouldn't have arrested you if they had come to the apartment building. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether they would or wouldn't. It matters that he feels like they would.
Exactly.
That's what matters. It's not a fake feeling. He's not lying to you. That's a thought in his head. That's a belief he has, and it's a belief we need to change. That people shouldn't feel like they're going to be arrested, attacked, unsafe. The police are here to serve and protect us, and we need them to serve and protect us, for us to have a valid social contract with the government. And right now we don't. People don't feel like they're getting served and protected. People, they're at the point where they're asking for the police to leave their communities. Mm-hmm. Just think about that for a minute. Like they're so fed up, they're so tired of their sons, their daughters, their brothers, their sisters, their friends getting incarcerated, getting arrested again for these little things. Thank God some of these get filmed. So many of them don't get filmed.
Exactly.
And
the big thing.
And they're so fed up. They're at the point where they're like, I'd rather take the risk of someone breaking into my house. Yeah. Think about that for a second. We're so in love. I love the police. I love living across from the police station. I love that feeling of feeling safe. They feel so unsafe. They feel so unsafe with police that they're at the point where they're like, get out. They're not making that up. Yeah. They're not. Those are their feelings. We need to empathize with them. We need to understand them, and we need to ask ourselves questions, ask the people around us questions, mm-hmm. and find solutions, find common ground,
yep.
and come together as a country, come together as a society.
Yeah. I think it's big. You just, like I said, it's simple. Just put yourself in our shoes. That's it. Just put yourself in our shoes and ask yourself, how would I react if I saw, and like the thing is, like when me as a black person, when I see another black person, getting strangled or whatever it is, getting pulled over something, I put myself in their shoes and I'm like, that could be me. Mm-hmm. So I express myself in the same way that and the same anger that they have in that situation. So what we want is for you to do the same exact thing. Think of it as like, that's my cousin, mm-hmm. that's my brother, that's my sister, that's being strangled or being misrepresented or whatever it is, mm-hmm. in that certain manner. And how would I feel if that happened, right? That is the big question. How would I feel if that happened to me, right? And like, we can talk about it and talk to tomorrow, whatever it is, but change truly does need to happen, mm-hmm. right? Otherwise, this is gonna turn into something that is truly gonna be despicable, mm-hmm. and there's gonna be no more power to do anything over it.
Right.
And the other thing people need to think about is that it's not just happening here; it's happening all over the world. Mm-hmm. There's prejudice at every center of the world. Even in Africa, there's prejudice and racism and all over the place, right? So people need to address it and take it head on without bending over and trying to just dodge it or whatever it is. It's something to talk about, and I think that's just the big thing about it, man. But yeah, there's plenty of stories. There's plenty of things that have happened, but like I said, change definitely needs to happen, and it happens in something so small as this, talking about it with you and getting your thoughts on about it, and you expressing yourself to me and me expressing myself to you, and you putting yourself into my shoes and just understanding it. So yeah.
No, I really do think it's how we need to go about it, and I think it's urgent. I understand for some people why it's tough, especially if you're not close to someone who's mm-hmm. experienced it. It's tough to put yourself in other people's shoes. But it was something I was thinking about last night, actually, because again, just contemplating the best way to go about all of this, and something I was thinking about is like how could I, if I didn't know Tanor, if I wasn't this close with Tanor or any of my other Black friends, how could I empathize with it? And it's like, I think about everyone can empathize with being broken up with in a relationship. Those feelings of inadequacy, those feelings of not being good enough for someone. When it's a relationship, you can think about the excuses for why. I could have said this, last week. We started this fight over this or that. Maybe I'm not funny enough. Maybe I'm not her type. I'm not good looking enough. Imagine those feelings of inadequacy based on nothing but the color of your skin.
Correct.
Which you cannot change. You can try and get better looking. You can try and get funnier. You can improve. That idea of growth, that idea of getting better is what drives people forward. Hope for tomorrow. Hope that tomorrow's going to be better than today. And so like when it's that feeling of inadequacy, that's how I've always gotten over breakups. It's like, okay, I think that I came up short in this area, and this area. Here's how I can improve myself, and my next relationship will be better.
Correct.
Just I can't even imagine, going to the corner store and feeling these feelings and being like, there is literally nothing I can fucking do to not feel this way, because for the rest of my life, I'm going to be judged because I'm Black. And I'm blessed to have Tanor as a friend for several reasons. He's been there for me in so many instances and been such a great friend for me. But also just how much he's changed my perspective on this issue, seeing what he goes through for no reason. One of the best humans I know, and he gets put in these situations. Some of them we've shared, some of them we won't have time to share, but just for no reason. It's just not right.
Yeah, definitely, and I think I'll just leave it as my take home message. Just like I said. Just put yourself into people's shoes and just listen to what they're going through. No matter if you're not going through it at all, just take it in, sleep on it, and then ask yourself, would I want to be in that situation? Obviously you wouldn't, and then that's when there's an issue right away. And I'll say it again, he who feels it knows it. It's as simple as that. And all we want to do is just to be treated the same exact way that you get treated when you do things. We're not trying to cause any issues or any stir or any trouble like that. We just want to go about our days without having to think about things what we cannot control, right? Things we cannot control. So I don't know. That's all I have, and like I said, it starts with little things like this, being on this podcast and expressing myself, which I normally don't do, keep things to myself. But it's important to talk about it and let people know. But I think it's great now with all of these protests that are going on. You're seeing people of all races come together just to back us, right? And that's what we need, man. But we need more than that. We need to change systemic racism. We need to change, people's beliefs and how they look at us. And it starts within your own household. I watched a video the other day where this younger girl, she was about in her teens or so, and she's talking to her parents, and her dad is talking about how he works in the ghetto and he sees people in the ghetto and how they're acting and all sorts of things like that. And the little girl comes up with an amazing point. She says that, do you know how it feels to live in that situation and know that you possibly cannot get out of this, right? She's doing that same exact thing. She's putting her shoes into the people that live in these situations and trying to empathize with them and feel what they're feeling. It's as simple as that, right? And it's crazy, but the parents are just looking at people and then just judging them off of what they've heard before and stuff like that. When these kids that are just in the street, they have nothing else to do. They could have just been by the road and a police officer comes, stops them, accuses them of something, and it's very imperative to tell this story actually. But as soon as we get accused for something as a black person, it is automatically game over after that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we have this thing on our record that says, oh, we were carrying something, or we did this to someone, or whatever it was, that is with us up until the day that we die.
Mm-hmm.
And that can literally just ruin a 15-year-old kid's life
Mm-hmm.
for the rest. Like, it can ruin his life for the rest of it. Like, he's finished, because when he goes for a job or whatever it is, he has a record, right? So then now he's reverting back to where he was before. He wants to get out of the situation. Nobody wants to be in those situations. You don't want to live poor and be in gangs and all that stuff. You don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you get that one thing on your record, your entire life can be finished.
Done.
So, and if you put someone, like a white person in that same situation where the police would come, the first thing they do is ask you, what are you doing? They'd sympathize with you. Like, oh, I'm just standing by the road. I'm just doing this and that. And then they'll just say, oh, like, don't stand here. Like, you shouldn't be standing here. Go about your day.
Yeah.
And it ends there for you, right?
Yeah.
But then, conversely, to someone else that doesn't look like you, their entire life can just be
Done.
determined from that one thing that they didn't even do.
And that it's such an important point, because it just drives towards like that kind of the systematic racism that's in our society, and it's just inherently there. And I don't have the answers for how to fix that at all, but it's important to acknowledge it's there. And a lot of people, that's another,
Exactly.
like the All Lives Matter or the white privilege, that's another trigger point for them. It's the laws say everyone's equal, so that means
Correct.
everyone must be equal.
Yeah.
But that's bullshit. My town is the perfect example of it. It's a pretty wealthy town, upper middle class, and there's a lower income housing part of it, which is mostly African American. And I just think, looking back, those kids went to the same public school, which was a very good public school. Why were more of those kids getting in trouble, more of the black kids getting in trouble than my friends? Were they, smoking weed more?
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it.
Probably not.
Were they drinking more? I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
But, there was probably a stronger police presence in that neighborhood for whatever reason, and police will stop people of color much more frequently to check them. And that never happened to me, because, like you said, that being on your record as a 15, 16-year-old unfortunately does really make it difficult for your life. And it's a shame, because kids in high school are dumb and make mistakes.
Exactly.
Kids are stupid. We're all stupid. To this day, we're stupid. I think
that is exactly what it is.
It would be looked at for me.
Exactly
It's for me. It's like, oh, it's just it's just like a kid being a kid. Where it's a black kid, it's automatically they're put down to a lower level, and that's just, that right there is privilege. There's no shame in admitting it. I can tell you that. I don't feel guilty about it. I feel responsible. I feel a responsibility to bring people up to that level of privilege. No one should have their life ruined because they were drinking in high school. No one should have their life ruined because they got caught with a little bit of weed in high school. No one should have their life ruined because no one should be murdered because they used a counterfeit bill at a store. And no one should ever be on the phone with their mother and be told this isn't a ghetto. That's privilege. Those have never happened to me, and I have no fear of them ever happening to me. And that's privilege. And again, thank you so much to Tanor for coming on. Hope comes from hearing other people's experiences. And he said it best. He who feels it knows it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great.
Dude, that
That's great. That's what it's all about, man. It's all about expressing it, talking about it, letting it be known, man. And this is the perfect fucking platform to do it. So.